Hey guys, welcome to Spiritual Sincerity. My name is Brianne,
And I'm Jenny.
and we are a spiritual based podcast talking all things spiritual guidance. And we are your friends to help you within your path and just to be your friend. So, welcome.
Welcome. What are we talking about today, Brianne?
I think today we are going to go into social media. Big topic.
Hefty one.
Yeah, I feel like with social media, Jenny and I were kind of talking about social media and the influence that it has on just our mental health and truly what it means to fast from social media, what it means to, take breaks from social media and how to not completely judge yourself. Um, so yeah, Jenny and I were talking also before we started this just on kind of the effects that it has, not just on women, obviously, but men as well, and just the aftermath of, scrolling on social media for X amount of time, and then what you kind of take out of that and the subconscious effects that it has as well. So, what were your thoughts, Jenny, on, certain things with not just Instagram, but like TikTok, stuff like that? Like, what have you faced with that?
So last year, I took a very long hiatus from social media, specifically Instagram, and I've just like recently gotten back into it. And what I've noticed is that like what I thought was my authentic self in the past wasn't fully my authentic self.
Yeah.
Like taking that big of a break, like I took like a year off. And um not that I was being fake, but like the things that I post these days, not always, but like have been a little bit more personal. Like I've been trying to make my Instagram just more me and not feeling like self-conscious about it, because I think for me, I personally sometimes overthink it and I'm like, wait, am I posting myself too much? And I'm like, wait, it's my page. This is literally like what it is. So, um, but then there's like the part where I'm like getting back on there and I'm like, oh, like, is this the only way I can connect with people? Like, I feel like I've missed so much. And now, like, suddenly I feel like isolated, like coming back on here and feeling like I owe people an explanation, like as if I'm an influencer. Like as if people like noticed I was gone. But
Some people may think that you are, though. I
I don't
mean,
know.
you never
Yeah.
know.
You never know. But I
You
mean,
never know who looks up to you.
it it was kind of a weird feeling coming back to it. And like I actually enjoy posting and like doing my stories and doing reels and stuff. But like coming back to it, I felt a little bit like a fish out of water. And just like it gave me a different perspective on it and how it really should be better for people connecting. Because if we're connecting like mostly online or like a lot of the time like on social media, then we need to be more authentic about it and just like give fewer fucks. Like,
Truthfully.
not be like, insulting and mindless, but like if I'm doing some inner child healing, like I'm gonna post that shit because you never know who it could help. And it also helps me, and I'm like, this is my page, and if you want to be in my space, then like you can stay. If you don't want to stay, you can leave.
Yeah,
But that's kind of like
truthfully.
how what I've been experiencing lately. It's been less of like the comparison thing and more of like me judging myself because I took so much time off and I was like, do I even know how to do this? Like,
Yeah. No, that's so true. I feel like you can get so caught off guard with like not being your full authentic self. And I notice a lot of people unconsciously, like I said, do it. It's not on purpose. It's not like, oh, I want to be like so and so, so I'm going to act like this or post this thing. I think it honestly gets worked into our behavior and like our attitude, our personality, like just by seeing that stuff. And then you notice that, like, oh, like maybe that person is getting a lot of attention because they're doing that. And then not that we necessarily want attention, but it kind of draws into that like, oh, maybe I should try this like they did. Um, and I think that it's like it's so innocent. Like it's really not
Yeah,
bad. And I
I
think
agree.
that a lot of people just don't admit to that.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is people just like enjoy the creativity and just like, oh, that looks fun and mindless and whatever. What I've noticed, like I've been getting less likes. Let's talk. I feel like we need to talk about likes
Yeah.
because I used to get more likes. The dog, my dog's barking. And now, okay, I'm on a phone call. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, real life. And I'm like, I've been trying not to like take it personally, and I really haven't. It's like for a blip of a moment, I'm like, oh, like, do people just not like me? Because
Yeah.
I'm posting this stuff that's like different from what I used to be posting, and like it feels a little bit more authentic and maybe a little bit more creative, and it's getting like no likes. um,
You're not alone in that.
yeah,
I think a lot of it honestly has to do with Instagram and the algorithms of
yeah,
what Instagram is targeting. It's not even your friends. Like sometimes like your posts and stuff, like sure, like stories, like great. Like you can see those and you can
yeah,
kind of like run through them. But like Instagram and like social media in general is so what I realized like being a creator on, for mindset and stuff like that. Like I have noticed that there is a specific algorithm that these platforms use to target the more I should say like influencers that have like a higher amount of like followers. So even though they have a lot of followers, their content gets spewed out more than like you or I's. Like it just
yeah,
it's honestly, and I'm not saying that like there aren't other factors that go into that too, but like truly I've noticed that on Instagram a lot. Uh,
yeah.
and it's I don't know how shady it is. So
Yeah, and you really don't know how smart it is either, like how detailed does it get with like what it pushes out. And at
Mhm.
the end of the day, like it doesn't bother me that much, like if I have like posts with like no likes on them, but like I do for a moment think to myself, I'm like, why? You know,
Yeah,
but
it's like I feel like that's a really like it's a important thing to talk about within mindset too, because I truly know that deep down in our hearts, we don't want to care. And like we don't want to feel like shameful or like doubt ourselves, but it's just that little voice in your ear that like won't go away. It's like, but what if? It's almost like just like, the devil trying to like sneak into your head. It's like, wait, why would I even think about that? Like, why do I care? But I think it's just like trying to not like we're not trying to fit in, but we're also just trying to be like make ourselves look sane in a way. And like, are we
yeah,
normal? Are we this? Like, is this normal behavior? And then like when we
yeah,
don't get that certain validation, it may feel like we're not, like we're
yeah,
doing something bad or different.
yeah, exactly. Because like social media too is really like a validation platform, like you get that's just like it is what it is, like you get likes on things, you get views on things, and it feels good. Like it doesn't even matter who's looking at it. Like
Yeah.
it's a dopamine hit. Um, and I don't think that's necessarily like inherently bad. I think it can be to a point, like if that's all you're doing and that's all you're looking for. But like that, if you go into it knowing that that's kind of what it is and you feel like good when you get a like you're just a person and a human being, and that happens to everybody. So
I
like
know.
we don't have to sit here and judge ourselves like, oh, am I shallow? That's how I feel sometimes. I'm like, am I shallow because I care about this? Like,
Yeah, I think like you said, like everybody does. And I think it's almost a sense of like, oh, that person like still likes me, or like that person likes what
yeah,
I'm doing still. And even though it's normal, I think that like it shouldn't be as normalized, like us being on social media so much. And like that's just honestly the fact of the matter right now in this day and age, in this generation, for sure. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not saying social media is a bad thing. I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think it's a great way to stay connected with people and being able to, show who you are as well, especially for like creators. If you have certain content that you like to put out, I think absolutely it's a great platform to use. But in my mind, it's like when in our minds are we taking it too far? And do we put boundaries on ourselves when we know that we're taking it too far and maybe this might be bad? Like when do we put boundaries along the lines of social media? When do we say like, hey, like I think that I'm getting too wrapped up in this. Like I keep having these thoughts over and over. They're not going away. Like I need to limit this to X amount of time. It's like I don't know
Mhm.
if a lot of people end up doing that. And I think that's when it gets harmful.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think like I don't know what it like a lot of what it's like for men on social media. I just know a little bit from what like my brother has said to me, but like I know for women especially being a woman um that that is especially relevant. Like just getting a little bit wrapped up in it and because it's not only like a means of expression, creative expression, it's also like a way to connect with people in a different way. It's like it's very different from like hanging out with people. It's kind of like new. Not that social media is new, but it feels every time you post, it's like, oh, this feels new again.
Yeah, it's definitely that like the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And although like I think the dopamine hit from that is great, sure, but like compare that to like the experience that you would get in real life. So like
Yeah.
this is a hot topic for me
Yeah.
because okay, like I'm not going to go too into detail with it, but I'm going to talk about porn for a second. Um,
Okay.
and this isn't something that I was doing, but it was something that one of my ex-boyfriends was doing for a long time, and I had no idea.
Mhm.
But you realize that sometimes, like, I would notice it was like an obscene amount of like sexual frustration on his end, almost like nothing was getting fulfilled on his end. And this is why, like, when you're a woman and you're in a relationship with a man and say you don't know if your man is addicted to that or not, he is getting so much of a dopamine reward in private without you there that whenever he's in contact with you fully, like in person, he has a real live woman in front of him. It doesn't necessarily like it's just like, okay, like need more. It's that dopamine addiction at that point.
Yeah.
And it's almost like so you like they crave it so much, but it is possible to like break out of like those habits and those traits. I just want people to know that like that is possible to get through because he did. Um,
Mhm.
but and to a woman, like that feels just like completely like you don't feel good about yourself. That makes you feel like, what the heck? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, and then
Mhm.
how do I become more like that woman or those women?
Yeah.
And truly, like, I think that that goes hand in hand also with Instagram because,
Mhm.
I mean, let's all be real. Like, probably what shows up on a single guy's like For You page or whatever that is. I don't, the interested
Mhm.
thing. It's going to show like whatever content they start liking. So, say that's like
Yeah.
pictures of half naked women online. I like that's going to show in the algorithm, like, okay, well, let's feed them more of like whatever that is. And of course, like he's a man, like they're obviously attracted to that. Do they necessarily want it? Probably not. But in their minds, they think, oh, because other guys like that, I like it's just a natural thing.
Yeah. Well, I've been through the same thing, by the way. Um,
Not fun.
it's really not. Oh my gosh, I went through such mental turmoil with that, just like totally taking it personally. And, like in my situation, it was hidden too. And, the discovery of it is very painful. And, um, but I'd say like the right man will feel more rewarded by like a fulfilling relationship than like something so surface level. And I have faith in men in that way. I don't think they're just imbeciles who just like, or, have one mode of being. Um, I have faith in them. Like,
Yeah, me
I,
too.
they're
I
fully
think
capable. Um,
I
but it's
think
just a matter of
honestly though,
getting,
I think it's about having like open communication too, right? Like
yeah.
having that honest conversation, like when you start to notice maybe that something's off, especially when you're in a relationship, like do you feel comfortable enough to address those certain things with your partner and like have that like vulnerability of like it's not even that like, hey, this doesn't make me feel good, but it's almost just like, is that something that you do because I noticed this? And not coming
Mhm.
at it as like in a judging manner, which is
Yeah.
hard sometimes.
Well, I think too, if it's like, especially if it's getting in the way of your relationship and you're noticing like they don't want to be intimate with you, or they're getting overly frustrated out of nowhere with you. Like that was something I experienced. I'm like, what's the hell is going on?
Yeah,
Like,
same.
and then I started to feel ugly. And
Yeah.
I didn't look much different than I do now, but I felt hideous because I was
Which
like,
is terrible.
in
Like
this,
that's such an awful like thing to feel because you know that it's the furthest thing from the truth, but it's like those intrusive thoughts like really start to like feel real because
yeah.
like you almost believe it because you're like, well, why? Like there's no other explanation. Like there's no other reason on why he would want to do that. It's like these platforms are very tricky and they honestly are, they can become very addicting, especially to somebody who doesn't know the repercussions of what could happen if they keep doing those things and they keep like they could lose you. Like they probably did not know that while they were doing it and they were in a relationship like with us, truly
Mhm.
knowing that like, hey, like what you're doing is going to make you lose me forever.
Yeah. Well, it's not just like the sense of betrayal. It's also like you're cutting off a line of intimacy that, I personally want to share with somebody. And it's not even so much like for me that it's like, oh, these are like other women and they're naked and whatever. I'm not like at this point, like I feel like back then maybe it was a little bit, but at this point it's really just like on a deeper level, like, are you able to be emotionally intimate with me? Like, is that difficult for you? Because someone who can't do that is not attractive to me.
Yeah.
If he can't be like intimate with me physically, sexually, emotionally, mentally, whatever, it's just like not going to be a fit. And it hurts, of course. And if it happened to me again, I'd probably go back to that place of like feeling
Yeah.
crap and comparing myself. And it's just a natural thing, but on a deeper level, it's like, what is not healed in this person, or like what is not right about this relationship that like this is getting in the way, like internet porn, like,
Yeah.
or Instagram girls, like is that really like what you find fulfilling in life? Because like, thank you, next. Like, no thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, like truly this is one of the like okay, this is my own personal choice, but like I made a commitment to God that like I will like remain pure until I end up getting married. Like I'm not saying I've been perfect in the past, but like that is just something that I have decided just through past experiences and just a reflection on like what I've been taught like from reading the Bible and like feeling like just a different type of way about relationships.
Mhm.
I truly think that like once a man has a taste of what it could be, and any men listening to this, correct me if I'm wrong. Like I would love to like see a different point of view, but like this is just what I have heard from men and like what I like notice because I pick up on behaviors pretty quickly. And I
Mhm.
just think that like once a guy like gets a taste of like what it could be, he kind of runs with it and not run with it in a good way. Sometimes it ends up being like, oh, well, if I could get that, maybe I can like level up better. And I'm not saying women don't do this. It goes
Yeah.
both ways, but obviously we're women here, talking
Yeah.
about our side of the story. So It's hard though, because men are way more sexual than women are naturally. So it's been a struggle for me.
Well, you're not alone. Like I'm probably not gonna wait till marriage. I'm gonna be totally honest, but I have been celibate for like over a year now, and it's been good. I mean, not that I like don't want it at times, but I have just been really working on like intimacy with myself and just like really evaluating like how I've approached boundaries in the past concerning sex. And like I here's the thing, like men men get freaked out by emotions, right? Like just generally.
Yeah.
Me, if I'm gonna have sex with a guy, I have to have some sort of emotional connection there with them so that I know on both ends, it's not always perfect, but on both ends, there's some sort of connection there so that
Yeah.
I feel safe, he feels connected in a way. And from there, it's up to me to have better boundaries. In the past, I've had that emotional connection and then like didn't have good boundaries and then, totally felt used and whatever. But I think it's totally a balance because like men tend to feel like connected through like physical stuff and then like women like feel connected with emotional stuff, but it's kind of an exchange, I feel like, so that
Yeah.
both people can feel like they can share more of that with each other. But it's hard because like you don't really know where that line is sometimes and like when to go there, when to not go there. Like, am I
Truly.
hoeing myself out?
Yeah, like, and
Slut
I
shame, but,
no, you're not. You're not. And truly, like I was the same way. Like, trust me, I'm not a perfect angel whatsoever. Like I have a past, but I don't judge myself for that anymore. But like something that like I never thought that I would be in this place now. I don't, or I never did, I guess. But I think now that I think I'm not just saying once a man like has sex with you that he's like, oh, gonna drop you because I mean, every situation is different. However, I think for women, it is so much more important for us to build that emotional stability, that emotional security. And like a woman sometimes with a lot of men doesn't feel emotionally secure. Say you have sex with them, okay? And then the very like same hour they're scrolling on Instagram and you notice that they just like five thirst traps off of like different girls' profiles. And it's
right.
like
Yeah.
how cringy is that? Like that to
You just
me,
had this like
my
intimate moment with
stomach
them.
churn.
You
Oh
know,
gosh.
sex for women is generally pretty intimate. It is for me at least. That's why like I have to have some sort of connection with somebody. Like I can't do just like casual stuff. I really can't.
Yeah, and it's hard though because like you want that man to be committed to you, like right? Like he says that he is, so we should assume that he is. But honestly, like that's why I'm like, I don't assume anything anymore. And I think I'm like, this is my approach. I'm just like taking it more as like, okay, like if you say that you're going to commit to me, there are going to have to be not just hoops that you have to jump through, because I will give back to my emotional stability as well. But I'm just saying, like, there has to be certain boxes that you check before we can take that next step to get. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. And I truthfully, I kind of feel bad for men a little bit, just a little bit, because I know that there is that small amount of men who they feel like they're getting thrown into like the F boy type like
Mhm.
like pool just because they're single and maybe they've had like some failed relationships in the past and whatever. But like, I'm not here to like attack like men. I don't think either of us are by any means. It's
No.
just more so like kind of like what we've been facing and like going through like just within our past experiences. And like, how do we're not here to change the world necessarily, but like, there's got to be a better approach to this. And like, I think taking the lead of like letting faith lead us instead of like our feelings sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important to be in tune with yourself. And that's also like a big part of why I've abstained from sex for like over a year now because I really needed to reconnect with myself and kind of learn what it feels like to feel safe in my body, because you're going to know like when you're with someone if it feels right or not, but like you're not going to know if you're like leading from a wounded place of childhood wounds, teenager wounds, you know, whatever attachment stuff. Like if you're in the thick of it and you're just like not taking that time for yourself, not that like everyone has to do that, but I will
Yeah.
say it has been helpful. Not that I've had an interaction where I could test it out yet, but well, stay tuned. But you know, like I think that is important, like learning what it feels like in your body, and like because I think there can be a difference between like feeling safe and feeling like anxious, and sometimes anxiousness feels like exciting, you know, and that's really like it's something familiar that's toxic, you know,
Yeah.
you don't
And
even know it.
I think for me, like this was like old Brie, like really long time ago, but I still remember this feeling. Like I remember I would like go out with a guy and I would get all cute, get all dressed up, and like he would take me out to dinner and then, proceed to like take the next step, go out to, on another date with him. And then lo and behold, it's like I almost felt like because he was like paying for certain things that somehow in my like brain at the time I felt like I owed him something. And I felt
Yeah.
like I like owed them like, oh, like thank you. But like me saying thank you apparently at the time like wasn't good enough. And I like had to like present my body then at that point. And I'm
Mm.
realizing now that like who like you don't deserve that from me. Like what have you done? Like I could have paid for my own meal. Like
Yeah.
I truly think that it is a respect thing, and I don't know if a lot of men even know that, to be honest. Like I don't think that they are taking the proper steps to like work on themselves, like you said, emotionally too, and like build that maturity to realize like she is a queen and I am a king.
Mm.
So we're going to build this relationship like from the ground up, not just like, hey, like let's skip all these steps and like just get right into it. And it's like, if that's how you feel, like please stay far away from me.
Yeah, I think like there's the stereotype of the entitled nice guy. Well, I was nice to her, so she owes me something. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like
No, it's so true. I don't
like
know. Like
being
I
nice is the bare minimum. Like that is like baseline. Like that's not even like wow, I'm gonna like bow down to your feet and worship you. Like yes, be nice to me. I'm a human being.
That's not, yeah, like sometimes to me, okay, this is just a food for thought from my own mind, but I sometimes feel like guys think that they're being nice when really they're just being super flirty and they're only focused on themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, they're only, and I'm not saying that this is like one way. Our experience,
Yeah.
I feel like guys are targeted of one thought of me. And it's like,
Yeah.
so you literally had the audacity, and as you should, like I think it's a great thing, but you DM'd a girl on Instagram, say, or even on like a dating app, and you took the time to like have this like well thought out message. You feel like you're at the point where you want to date and take somebody out on a proper date. You do that, and then it goes all inward again. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense to me because you know that that's not what you want. Like, no person truly wants to be alone in
Mm-hmm.
life. And you wouldn't be on a dating app I mean, maybe you would. Maybe this is for some people, like just to like go from point A to point B. But like I guarantee you there's something way deeper in that is offsetting your mind and your mental stability to hold a conversation and to hold like any form of like relationship.
Yeah. Oh, you're preaching, girl. Like that's like
It's
why
sad. It's so
I
sad.
just a lot of times it just doesn't feel genuine. Like it just like when a guy like doesn't approach me with authenticity and sincerity, it just kind of feels like they aren't actually trying to get to know me. They're just trying to flatter me so that I will give them the reaction that they want.
Yeah,
That
it's
reinforces them and
manipulation.
validates them. Like they're looking for validation from me that I like liked what they said.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's
that's just like in the beginning.
manipulation in a certain way, but
Like not I'm not trying to be picky here. Like, it really depends on what is said and like how it's said, but like especially if a guy's just like doesn't take a hint and just like keeps trying to hit on
yeah,
you.
like of course he's gonna try. Like he's a guy. Like let him
Yeah.
try. But then like if you say like, I'm not really comfortable with that yet, then like if he takes that in a bad way and he doesn't respect you, he's not the guy for you. Like
Yeah.
fully not. Like if he doesn't respect your boundaries that you're placing on not just this relationship, but for yourself, if he wants to get all pissy about that, then like that's his fault. And okay,
Yeah.
walk away. Like that's when we take the initiative to like see ya. And it
Hmm.
sucks because like honestly, I don't think that it's all men either. And I'm here to say like I do not
Yeah,
think that
it's
it's all
definitely
men
not.
because I have to say I've seen women also initiate certain things and like I've seen these trends go around on like TikTok and saying like, oh, like I can get your man, like I can steal your boyfriend.
Oh, that's
Like these
so cringy.
cringe. I'm like,
Oh
oh
no.
my God, that
That's
is like
so
the most.
that is the most trashy thing I've ever heard in my life because it's like why do you feel validation that you can steal someone's boyfriend?
Yeah. Or like these
Like,
women, like some women have like such high expectations of men. Like this like stupid thing was like stuck in my head, but this morning I kept hearing this sound going around on TikTok. It was like, I'm looking for a man in finance, 6'5", blue eyes. It's like, girl, like to me, all right, this is just my own personal opinion, but I think like, girl, you don't, first of all, you don't want a guy who's in finance. Like, let me just get that straight. You want, I saw somebody say you want a guy that's in IT, not in finance. But like you have like such like specific things that you're like looking for because you want a guy to like baby you and take care of you when really you're supposed to be stepping into that relationship, or even if you're just like talking to somebody, you're supposed to be stepping into that as well, what are you bringing to the table too? It's like it's not all just about the man. Like yes, you
yeah.
are a queen, but a queen is not going to get a king unless she acts like the woman that she
Yeah,
presented
absolutely.
that way.
I've seen some women be real just terrible. Just and I feel bad for the guys because it's you really don't realize how much men feel until they get hurt by, a relationship. And I've seen it happen before. And these some women are just like out there like trying to basically play out their father wound and like take out their anger on men by like essentially using them and like exploiting them with sex and um or cheating or whatever it is, and like thinking that they're like a queen, quote unquote, and powerful because they have like this man under their grip, when really it's like that's just like manipulation and control, and that's not an intimate relationship.
Yeah.
I
Like,
hate
and the
that.
manipulation is on both sides. Like, I'm here to
Yeah,
say, like, we do
it
not live
is.
in a perfect society whatsoever.
No,
It's both.
absolutely not.
I mean,
It's
I
super
don't
cringe.
like, I think at least more people are getting engaged with, like, well, why is the dating scene so bad? And I think people are starting to question it now. And, like, the
Hmm.
real response to that is look inward before you start dating. Like look on
Yeah.
like what your values truly are. What are your intentions? Like are you going into I don't care anybody's presence with the thought of oh, I just want to get X, Y, and Z for my own benefit. Because if that's the case, you really need to dig deep and figure out where that came from. Because you don't deserve anybody's time. You don't deserve anybody's money, whatever it is, like man or woman. I think you earn that based upon the emotional stability and structure that you build while you're dating somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I've especially like gotten to that point in my life where being single for like 5 years at this point, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna have to earn it. And I'm not just gonna like drop my life for you unless like you're serious about pursuing me and wanting to be intimate in a way that is different from your other, interactions with other women. Like I don't want to just be some girl.
Yeah. And
I
it's
don't
like,
want to
how
be
do you get
your
set apart from that? I'm like, oh
yeah,
my God, I feel, well, so passionate about that.
yeah. Well, that's the other thing that's hard about social media is that like it's this illusion that there's options. And I think that's also the hard thing about men being on there and liking everything that women put. It's just like it kind of feels like you're just an option. And is it the biggest deal in the world? No. But it does kind of say something about like a maturity level of like, well, why is it such a big deal if I say that that hurts me? Like, do you really like have to like tap your phone and like something? Like, is that really so hard to not do?
Such a hot
Like,
topic right now. Oh
yeah,
God. And it's just makes me so uncomfy because I've had a lot of relationships like ruined by that. And it's
yeah,
because I do hold my standards and I don't lower
yeah,
them for anybody. And if I see it again, we're done. Like I
yeah,
know that that's not how everybody feels about it. Not every woman feels that way either. But like to me, it
yeah.
doesn't matter what it is. It could be like
Especially at our age, like we're in our 30s now. It's like, come on.
it's
Like, come
like
on.
screw it being like even just like Instagram. Say it's like I just don't like, I don't know, like I don't like, I don't know, anything. It could be any topic and say like I just don't like that thing. Like it doesn't make me feel comfortable. I address it with you
Mm-hmm.
saying that I don't like that. And then you would still do it anyways. Like say I don't like driving the car. Like I just like being in the passenger seat. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes like okay, yes, it may be required. But if it's something that truly makes me feel uncomfortable, wouldn't you go out of your way to at least suggest like, hey, like let me drive or let me do blah blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be. It's like if something's making your partner feel uncomfortable, you would do the same for them. So why aren't they doing it for you?
Yeah. I've been in, relationships where I would be in a situation like that. And instead of stepping in and saying, hey, let me take this, burden off of you, they would try to parent me. Be like, no, like this is something you got to face. And it's like, I don't like, is it really that big of a deal? Like, I can, like, with the example of driving, I don't love driving. Okay. Like, I don't love it. I'd rather sit in the passenger seat. But like, in the grand scheme of life, that's not the biggest deal. I still drive my car. It's not like I'm paralyzed and sitting at home and can't drive my car, but like I prefer it if you drove.
Yeah. And honestly though, I think that if we're going on the topic of like men just liking stuff on social media, I think that truly it's not always a man's fault because probably what they've seen in their past relationships or maybe what their friends girlfriends do is they keep quiet and they just act like it doesn't matter, but then they sit there and
Yeah.
they gossip about it with their friends like, oh my God, I can't believe he's still doing this, like blah blah blah. And it's like,
Yeah.
but you're still staying in that situation, you're still giving your body to this man, allowing it to happen. He's still getting exactly, he's getting his cake and he's
Yeah.
eating it too. So it's like when you keep allowing that behavior and you don't remove yourself from the situation, make it clear that that is something that you are
Yeah.
not comfortable with and you are like giving it all. That is not like improving any part of the relationship or any part of society like at
And
all.
guys would feel the same way if they were in that position. If you were just liking a bunch of dudes with their shirts off and like
100%. And they say no,
they
but
no, no, no. If they say no, but if it were happening, they would not like it.
yeah.
Like a guy with an 8 pack, yeah, you're gonna sit there and say you don't care.
Yeah. And like I feel like it's stronger for women because I something that I something clicked to me, within my past couple of relationships where this did happen to me. I realized though that like the guy would say like, okay, yeah, that doesn't matter. And I'm like, okay, but me as a woman, I know exactly that girl's intentions. Her intentions are to get as many likes on that photo as she possibly can. She wants the attention from men. Not all of them, but most women do. You know, if you're posting a freaking thirst trap, like what else are your intentions? Like you want guys to slide in your DMs, you want to be like noticed, you want attention. So my man is now giving her that validation and that attention when every single thing that you see throughout the day on your Instagram feed or whatever pops up on your phone, that is a piece of attention that you are now like abstaining from. Not, you're not focusing on yourself, you're now focused on this other object that is somehow involved in our relationship now, and that was your doing, not mine.
Yeah. I almost feel like the way I would approach it at this point would be to just be hopefully so confident in myself that like I find it boring if a guy likes another girl's photo. Like guys, unfortunately, there's a lot of men who consciously or subconsciously want to have more power over a woman. And if you're even slightly confident, they're gonna like try to balance that out and like, no, like I'm still free in a way. Like I'm not in a relationship. Like guys fear having their freedom taken from them. Not all guys, but a lot of guys. So
Yeah.
like that's part of, if you say stop liking, it's like, well, I don't want you controlling me. And it's like, okay, you want to do like that immature like middle school shit, just like make it seem like it's dumb and immature. Like guys don't want to feel dumb and immature.
Yeah.
Not that
It's
you want to call them that, but you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'm above this. And if it doesn't stop after that, I'd be like, okay, this is
well,
clearly not
it's like
like
honestly
serious to you.
though, it is very immature. And to
Yeah.
me, like now that I'm single, I just truly think that like say I post a picture and I know that there are men on my Instagram that are in a relationship or they're married for that matter.
Hmm.
And this guy likes every single one of my pictures that I post online. Not that I post anything like thirst trappy or anything like that, but it could be
I
whatever.
do.
But
But
it
it's
could
not for
be
the men, it's for me. And I feel so
that's
uncomfortable when guys are taken and they like my picture. I'm like, no,
it's
don't
just
do that.
weird. Like I feel embarrassed. Like
Like I want
that
to
poor
tell their
girl.
girlfriends, you know what I mean?
Or like, hey, your man who's in a relationship is like sliding in my that
Or like
100%.
married with a baby. Like, what are you
No.
doing?
And it's so sad that it does happen like
We
so
can
much
be
more than
friends
people
without
talk
you
about.
liking my thirst traps.
It's it's terrible. Like honestly, it just like makes me a little sick to my stomach, but like I think that there is a way out of all of that. I think it's just like I've said this before too, and I think if you do find yourself in a relationship, anybody for that matter, I think that a woman does have to like guide the boundaries on the relationship and what is okay and what is not. Like not right off the bat, not maybe not on the first date, but like after like a couple dates, like what is like an absolute like no go for you? And
Yeah.
you read his body language and you read if like on his face, like is he like accepting of that like 100% like on your side, or is he just like
Yeah.
like I don't really see that as a big deal. Take what he says and believe it, because I
Yeah.
guarantee what that man says to you in the beginning, like he is not lying.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah. I just like the likes and stuff, like I like here's the thing. I haven't been in a relationship in a long time, so like I don't know how I would feel, but like from where I sit right now, I'm hoping I don't end up with a guy where that's even going to be a problem because I'm hoping he's emotionally and mentally mature enough that Instagram doesn't get in the way of our relationship because
Oh,
that
my
would
man
just
doesn't
be some
have
like
Instagram.
that would just be like some stupid bullshit. Like we're in our 30s and Instagram's going to get in the way. I don't think so. This ain't for me.
More
Like,
or less like Snapchat too. I'm like, oh,
oh
like
man,
if
fuck
a
Snapchat.
guy ever asked me that, I'm like, please never talk to me again. Like that is the biggest red
No.
flag for me.
Yeah, no, like yeah, that's a big red flag.
Oh my gosh. Like there have been Another TikTok trend too is so funny. These guys, they actually talk about like the excuses that men give whenever their girlfriend catches them like liking photos and stuff on Instagram. He's like saying like, "Oh, like I'll just delete the whole app." Like that is the excuse that I have heard time and time again. I'm like, okay, like, yeah, let's not get down to the actual root source of why you're doing this. Let's just delete the app. And then as soon as we break up, you're going to get that thing right back. Because every single time that is what happens. It's so hilarious.
Yeah. That sounds like a middle school type thing.
It
Or high
is.
school. Middle school, high school. I'm like, I am so past that. Please don't make social media a problem. I got big things to do in this life, and I'm looking for a teammate, not like a toddler, a bearded toddler that I need to parent and say, hey, like, I know this isn't like the biggest of deals, but it just kind of says something about your maturity level that kind of irks me. So that's really what it is for me. It's like less about like feeling bad about myself and more about like, why is this even happening? I thought like it just makes me less attracted to them. And that's really what it is.
Yeah, like okay, I'm gonna bring something up, but like this is something that like happened to me within like multiple different like past relationships. And it was always like I brought up the topic and I did address it maturely, and it was like, oh yeah, like I'm trying to control it. Like I promise like I'm not going to do that. Then I would like let it slide like two or three times, wouldn't even say anything. And then I would bring up the topic again, not blaming him for anything, but just like, hey, like, what do you think about this, and this? Something to do with like the Instagram likes, and be like, oh yeah, like that's so cringy, like that's so blah blah blah. Yet they were the ones still doing it. And it's almost like I was like testing them and they failed miserably. But like that's not something that I want to do. I don't want to take time out of my day to even keep bringing this topic up because it's not like, first of all, why do you even
Yeah.
have Instagram? Like,
Yeah.
why are you even on there? Like, what's your validation out of it? Like, I know that I like am trying to run a business and trying to like have different platforms of where I share like, well, me personally, like Christianity and like faith-based information.
Hmm.
What are you doing on there? Like, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I kind of like wonder what dudes do on Instagram unless they have like a business or something like, but I guess the same could be said
Like
for
sports
girls
too.
too, but like a lot of guys like won't even post. They'll just like go on there and I'm like, so you're just scrolling and liking things. You're not even gonna
Like,
post
you haven't
anything.
posted anything since 2019. What are you doing on there?
Like what? Yeah, like what are you doing? Can you like don't you have a to-do list to get to or something? Like
Yeah,
I,
like
I say as I'm
honestly,
like posting a million stories.
I think that like sharing information that like or stuff or a meme or whatever, stuff that you like truly believe in, like reposting stuff like that. Like I don't think that that's a problem at all. I think that it goes more to like what are you doing when nobody's around, because that is when you're doing those things that like are going to affect not just a relationship but like just affect your like mental health too. It's like you like somebody that is dealing with any sort of problem like this, like get really like deep and like serious with yourself on what you're actually doing and what your intentions are behind social media. I think
Hmm.
that's where it starts. It's like, are you truly on there? Like, be for real with yourself. Are you like seriously on there to just laugh and get entertainment, or are you on there
Hmm.
because you know that you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing?
Hmm. Yeah. I think like the intention part is really important. Unfortunately, like it could go either way with social media. Like it can be like a really positive thing in a lot of ways, but like also really negative, and it really just has to do with like what you doing and why.
Yeah.
You know, like I like using my Instagram just for like my own like creative expression, spiritual stuff, like whatever. So it doesn't like feel that toxic for me because I'm usually not on there just scrolling and looking at people's posts. It's usually like I'm sharing something and then I'm off, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but that wasn't always the case, you know, like there have been times in my life where I definitely would just sit there and compare and scroll and you know whatever, and just totally go down a spiral of like, oh, I should do more of that, or like, oh, like, I didn't get enough likes or whatever, I have no friends. And it really does bring out wounds in people, or it can. So I think like your point with like the intention of it is really important.
Yeah, and well, I also think like if you like if somebody's listening to this and they truly like don't care and they don't think that any of this matters, like think again. And if you truly don't care about it, then don't care about it. But I guarantee you, like you're not going to improve your mental health or your mental well-being because I mean, are you disciplined? You're not even disciplined enough to like do certain things and use it appropriately. Like, I think that that's also like with dating and stuff, like you can kind of tell like right off the bat, like, is this person serious about like changing their behavior or were they already on that path before you started dating them or are they now changing their behavior to try to fit into your lifestyle now? And I think that that's something that like I don't think a lot like women like to try to think that they can change a man sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
like you're sadly mistaken, like that man will not change unless he wants to change, unless he's already
Yeah.
set those ground rules for himself. And that goes for women too. Like, is your girl like disciplined enough? Like, she has her to-do list, she has her schedule, like, she's more focused on like growing herself and her relationships. And she's like not just trusting somebody and truly like knowing that she wouldn't even have time for that or he wouldn't even have time to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I definitely like want to be with someone that I can trust. Like, I don't want to be that person that like feels like they need to track down and like monitor what someone's doing. Like that sounds like hell to me. Like I don't want to go through your phone. I don't want to like have to talk about the same stuff over and over that's like, "Oh, you're doing this and that." Like I just want someone that I can trust, who's as committed as I am, who doesn't feel like they're being forced to do or not do something, but like it's because they have so much respect and love, and like our relationship is so rewarding in the sense that like these other things just don't even matter, that it's his own choice. And
Yeah.
that's like really difficult to find, I feel like. But like that's like what I want, and until I get that, I'm going to remain single, because
Yeah.
it's got to be out there, because that's how I am. Like no one wants to be told like, no, don't do this, unless it's like something really really bad, obviously you
Yeah.
thing.
Well, it's
But
almost like taking away like some form of an addiction too from somebody. They're, of course, they're gonna like when
yeah.
somebody say it's like smoking or drinking or whatever it is, like any sort of bad like habit or like behavior, if somebody just out of the blue shows up in a relationship and be like, hey, like I don't want you to do this anymore, they'd be like, okay. Like just because you're you, that doesn't mean that they're going to change in any way. I think it's like it's built in like, oh, I know that I'm working on this and I'm going to be transparent with this person, tell them what I'm that I am struggling with this if it ever gets brought up, like I'm struggling with this, like can you help me? Like asking for help, like lean on your person and like lean on them for guidance because I guarantee you, if you're open and honest, they're going to be more like understanding with you and try
Mhm.
to like work in different types of, structure within their relationship and help you build.
Yeah, definitely. Like it needs to be like a team, you know what I mean? Like you're not coming at someone to control them or tell them like these are the rules. It's more like these are my boundaries, and like this is why these are my boundaries, and like I need you to respect them, because I want to have a mature and honest and loyal relationship with you. And if you can't, then we'll have to discuss that. But like if you can, like that'd be like my dream. Like, don't you want to make me happy?
I know it is like it's definitely out there. It's for sure out there because I know because I like see relationships like
Yeah.
all the time that are like really healthy, like truly transparently healthy and just
Yeah.
honest. Nobody's perfect and no relationship is ever perfect. I just think that it's all about like, are you willing to work on yourself? And most people aren't. So that's like I said, like you can kind of filter it out that way. If the person's not willing to work on their behaviors and honestly just be an adult, um, that's like the first common sense of like, hey, even though
Yeah.
he's 6'5" in finance, like, okay, that doesn't mean Chad is meant to be your boyfriend. He's probably gonna break your heart.
Yeah, exactly. There's got to be more to it than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, um, I think we'll have to make a second episode about this.
Yeah,
It's
definitely. We're
good.
definitely passionate about this. We
Yes.
got a lot to say.
Always. Well,
Yeah.
thanks so much, guys, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.